Who would have thought it'd be the O Wrestling Podcast? What's up, everyone? Thank you for listening. I am your host, CW. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube. Get notified whenever new episodes go live and subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms. Today, we're talking about failed comebacks. Ooh, not everything works, y'all. Not every wrestler return is as triumphant as you would want to be. Sometimes these incredible athletes get, released for whatever reason, whatever the reason may be, quote unquote, budget cuts. They could have just been, a bloated roster. Maybe they had a wellness policy, failure or whatever the case may be. And then they go off and they do their thing in the indies and they get a fan base and they start making some buzz. And then it worked its way back to the big company in the sky. That's a really weird way to put that. Makes it way back to the ears and eyes in WWE, and they say, "Hey, let's sign that guy back and capitalize on some of that buzz." And then sometimes they come back and that buzz is rewarded, i.e. Cody Rhodes. I literally described Cody Rhodes. He went around the world, made some buzz, started a whole ass company, and then got brought back, and he's in the WrestleMania program. He's one of the biggest baby faces in the company in wrestling. Biggest baby faces in wrestling. Mostly because that man cries at every promo. Doesn't matter what he's talking about. But sometimes it doesn't work. And the first one that came to mind, the reason I am even doing this episode is because it bugs me to this day, is Johnny Nitro. Now, Johnny Nitro had won the Tough Enough Challenge way back in the early 2000s. And he was in a great tag team, Eminem, which is kind of the Maxim Male Models gimmick that's going on now, except less funny. They weren't funny. Maxim Male Models are not funny either, but they're our comedy act. But Johnny Nitro had a fantastic singles run, and then his run petered out and he left. And then he ran off and did all this amazing work in stuff like Lucha Underground, and he made a name for himself outside of WWE, outside of the machine that is the giant corporation WWE. And then, I guess with all that buzz, WWE caught wind and they say, hey, let's bring back our protege. Basically, he was in the WWE system. He was, part of Tough Enough. He was trained in the ways of Wrestling Federation. And then they said, let's bring our homegrown boy home. So they bring him back and then proceed to do absolutely nothing with him for the entire time. It was a big deal that he came back. And then they stuck him with The Miz. As we've talked about, The Miz is the gatekeeper. He is the guy who's going to get new talent or returning talent over. They stuck him with The Miz because I believe they had a tag team prior. They did nothing. I think they may have won the tag titles and then dropped them, and then they, inevitably fought each other. And then I think the last segment Nitro ever did was he was doing some weird guru stuff. He was like sitting backstage meditating. They were trying to get something off the ground and it just was not happening. And then they released him. And I always go back to that saying, well, why'd you even bring him back? You wasted the man's time. There's no, I don't think in the wrestling business, there's no bad TV time. Oh, yes, there is. Shockmaster. There's no bad TV time when you're, working outside. It's another, I don't know if they have reels or some sort of like portfolio to get into the indies, but if you're on national television in WWE, you're doing a good, you're doing a good job, right? You're making the most of your minutes. So I can't, deny that Johnny got some good buzz because I think he's in MLW now and he's doing great. Him and his wife I think they're doing intergender matches and stuff. He's doing great. But that one return bugs me to no end. I was like, you guys wanted to capitalize on that sort of cachet that he brought in from the indies, and then you proceeded to do nothing with him. And obviously it goes back to the whole discussion of Vince's, getting bored of his toys kind of thing. He's like, he's new and he's back. And he's like, I don't really care. Just bury him and leave him alone. It's very strange. In recent times, there have been callbacks that just didn't work. JBL coming back to work with Baron Corbin was a colossal failure. A very strange call up for a wrestler who's not well liked by people. He has his friends, but I rarely hear really nice things about JBL, especially from back in the day. They called him a bully and all that stuff, and then for him to come out and just kind of play up that role, it was just a little strange, and it didn't get Baron Corbin. It didn't get Baron Corbin over at all. If anything else, it could have been, maybe it's a master plan from Triple H to be like, let's bury Corbin so hard that he gets a new gimmick, because now they're doing the whole thing where he's being overlooked. So maybe that was the plan. I doubt it. But a couple of the returns that Triple H has brought back recently haven't really worked. Like Candice LeRae, I feel, is a little in limbo. They're kind of trying to pair her up with Nikki Cross, who has, she's been there the whole time, but she's floating around as well. But Candice and Johnny Gargano, they're still trying to find their footing. Dexter Lumis is, I wouldn't call him a failed experiment, but he's definitely coming off of a very rough debut with Miz, a very prolonged storyline that kind of, should have ended a month beforehand. And he came in with a lot of heat, and then he just kind of fizzled out. And now he's just sort of a goon who follows Johnny Gargano around. Now that I'm saying this out loud, Dexter Lumis and Nikki Cross are exactly the same character. They're quote unquote unhinged, quiet characters who just kind of follow around Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, like the husband and wife team. I'm starting to see what they're going for. Like they both Candice and Johnny have goons that they can, call upon to help them, but it's still strange the lengths that Triple H is kind of going to get these two over, and I don't think it's working all that well. But I think one of the biggest returns that never works ever, and it happens all the time, and if I'm getting to it, who I'm talking about, is Goldberg. Goldberg has never had a good return to WWE. Like when he first debuted, it was great and everyone was so excited to have Goldberg in the company, and then he had that stinker of a match with Brock Lesnar where Stone Cold literally had to stun everyone in the arena just to get the crowd back into the match, because I believe both of them were leaving the company at the same time after WrestleMania or something. So they put on a crap match. They kind of didn't wrestle for the first 5 or 7 minutes of the match. They just kind of circle each other, and not in the cool like Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns way where they kind of played up to the crowd's anticipation. Brock and Goldberg just kind of strutted at each other. It was weird. But Goldberg left and he came back, and then again didn't do a whole lot. And every time he came back, he did another match that was either too short or too bad. I mean, he gave himself a concussion when he wrestled The Undertaker. The Undertaker had to literally carry him because he was just out of it. He had a match with Bray Wyatt, I believe, and buried Bray at the height of his popularity. Goldberg is anti-wrestling fun. Just everything he does is just no fun at all when he comes back. But between him and Johnny, Johnny, I don't feel like he did anything wrong. I feel like he came down. It came down to Vince syndrome. Like he got bored and had nothing for him. He didn't even give him the IC title or a run in the IC. It was just whatever, just let him go. But Goldberg, because he's a body guy, he's an old school guy, and Vince really, really, really loved him. His contract was hey, come back once a year to bury somebody in a poorly done match in Saudi Arabia, and then you get your check, and maybe we'll give you a title. And everyone hates it when he comes back. He loves that everyone hates it. And I don't know, every return is a failure on his part, and he still gets paid. And that's just indicative of the world. Some people just fail upwards. Anyway, what's your favorite failed return in WWE? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to hit that bell and subscribe. I appreciate you and your time, taking the time to listen to me ramble on about wrestling for 10 minutes a day. Thank you so much.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.